Hello everybody, and welcome back to another edition to my reaction series of Arcane. Today we're going to be tackling episode 4 of season 2, the first episode of Act 5, which I am so excited for. It's been a little bit since the last recording. I've been on pins and needles. I've been very impatient to check out this episode. I've been doing a Twitter blackout, haven't been looking at anything on Twitter, nothing in the Discord about Arcane. I've just been really paranoid about spoilers. And now I can finally watch it, as we enter this fascinating new portion of the story, where Caitlyn is going down this completely concerning path, concerning to put it lightly. Ambessa has become this magnificent character, and I really liked Act 1, I think it was good, I think it was really good, I think it did a lot of great things, but I would be lying if I said I didn't want the story to take a bit of a step up in Act 5, in this act. I think there are some characters that need to get a bit more spotlight, some things that need to be paid off, some dynamics that have to get fleshed out. I think I want some more for Jace, Echo Heimerdinger, of course, Victor. This has to be a big act for Victor, I imagine. We'll see where Caitlyn is going, and Ambessa, as things start to become very Attack on Titan-esque. Caitlyn definitely reflecting a certain character from Attack on Titan, and some of the enforcers next to her, like that younger woman, reminded me of characters in Attack on Titan. That younger woman actually reminds me a lot of Luis from Attack on Titan. Caitlyn reminds me a little bit, in some ways, of Flock. Anyways, sorry, I digress. I want more for Vi, of course, and more questions to be answered about Black Rose and what's going on with Mel and Delora. And Singed, he's got a new Frankenstein's monster. What the hell's going on with that? How will Vi struggle with the type of person she wants to be, and how that contrasts the type of person she is, where she is in life? I imagine Jinx will evolve her dynamics with Savika and that kid, that little girl, who could very much end up being very important to her, like I've talked about before. Maybe a reason for her to live, or some shining light in her life in a moment where she really just wants to die. The socio-political situation in Piltover, how will things cascade from that horrifying scene, probably the highlight of Act 4, at the end of Episode 3. The Jace and Victor dynamic, the Vi and Jinx dynamic, Caitlyn and Vi, just all this stuff. I can't wait to see how it all shakes out. I've been talking too long. Let's get into Episode 4 of Season 2. Season 2, Episode 4, Paint the Town Blue. I've also been thinking more about the opening. Oh boy, yeah. This is always going to be the fallout of... Look at this, oh. That look from Ambessa. Paint the town blue. That's the symbolism of that. Oh, that shot, oh, Caitlyn.
Let me guess. Complaints about the Noxians.
Never expected this to go on so long. I don't know what I thought. Just, it wasn't this.
Has she gone too far, though?
Jinx.
She has to get what she came for.
Withdrawal could lead to a worse situation than the one that...
Okay, Ambessa.
No half measures. Like, I have to go...
does Zorn, as she vowed.
I have to come back and be decisive.
You're our leader. The enforcers, Piltover, they follow you.
This dialogue's reminding me of some things that Mel told Jace in Season 1. Don't show indecision. You're our leader. Caitlyn's kind of taken Jace's place in some ways.
Glorious spectacle of your lives. In the gray corner, our undefeated champion, with claws like daggers and teeth like sharper daggers. The devilish, the wretched, and in the other gray corner, the challenger.
Oh, you know what this is? A monster versus another monster. These are the little imagination things that Vi and Powder would have as kids. I'm this beast, and now I'm this beast with spikes, and I'm this beast with claws, you know? Vi talked about that in Episode 8.
What are you doing?
That's, oh man. Jinx is reflecting the sort of fights and bouts they'd have as a kid. Maybe a bit of a stretch, but I don't think... I think there's something there. While also just entertaining her little sister here.
Inexplicable release of bodily gases.
Isha.
Ta-da! You like it? You're lucky. I didn't get to do much of this with my older sister.
She's doing... Oh,
She
man.
was more into hitting things.
Oh, Isha is saving her life right now.
Powder. Stupid, right? I thought I was rid of her for good, but you kind of remind me of her.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Oh god, this arc for Jinx, Powder, whatever you want to call it, is fantastic. And reflecting her early life with Vi. I don't know. The parallels in this show.
In a city teeming with brilliant inventors, have we managed to unearth such unrelenting incompetence?
I'll talk about the parallel with this that I see later on.
We can't be certain the Order was also behind the disappearance of Jace and Heimerdinger.
Who else? The moment we seize control of this backwater, everyone with an inkling of talent vanishes. It's no coincidence.
Keep their name out of your mouth. Mel has always been her weakness. And she continues to be. Oh. Whoa, whoa. Look at this. That's Echo's guy. I see.
She is not your friend. She is not your champion. She hides while you suffer.
Echo's right-hand man is in the crowd, right there. Same with the other enforcer. Jinx has become this symbol of rebellion. Oh my gosh. Shown through blue hair. But it's her name, her legacy has completely become out of her control.
It's hers.
I think we've made them desperate for something to believe in.
Yeah.
You can still...
Officer Nolan. Quite the familiar face these days. It's beyond question that the news of Jinx's return will ignite Zornite resistance. But the blade cuts both ways.
That wasn't Jinx.
We have her scent.
Was it for my encouragement that your man Rictus was instigating violence?
You don't trust me.
The blade cuts both ways.
Fearless child. You never shy.
Arrests require cause.
What greater cause is there than returning peace to this city?
Why is peace always the justification for violence?
Really good visual storytelling using space there.
We've lost so many. The anger, the sorrow. It's tiring. Gods, I know it's tiring. But you will never rest knowing that she's out there.
She's speaking from experience. Black Rose.
Oh, maybe I underestimated you. Maybe you have the strength I do not. To forgive and trust in tomorrow.
Oh my god, this is so good.
The decision is yours, Commander.
She says that it's her own weakness that she's unable to forgive. The self-awareness is incredible. Solo.
A measure of status to be on my guest list. Toast of the town.
Same time next week?
Tomorrow. The effects have been diminishing.
I keep hearing about this healer down in the fissures.
Kind of a little bit like Shimmer Withdrawal.
They say he makes miracles happen. I saw one, like nothing I'd ever seen before.
A lack of power. It's crazy. Solo is going through what... This lack of power, this inadequacy, this need to feel stronger after his disability. Excuse me. Solo's going through what a lot of those in the Undercity were subjected to.
About what?
Look at the new look.
Stunned at the checkpoint. Well, however it happened, the whole Undercity's buzzing, saying you're back. You're a symbol.
Huh. You want a symbol?
Oh no.
Silco spent his whole life trying to rally the Undercity together. Stupid joke that it is, you have the chance to pull it off. Do you know how much he sacrificed to protect you? He believed in your potential.
Well, then he shouldn't have died!
We're having a rally tonight. Vander's statue.
The stuff they're doing thematically with Jinx, the dynamic with Caitlyn and Ambessa, like, this is taking it to the next level. She's a symbol. Savika thinks to honor Silco, she needs to carry forward his legacy, but he never necessarily wanted that for her. He just wanted her to be who she is. Happy. Oh.
Me, a hero. How screwed up is this place?
Oh, man.
I got something going now. A friend. And I don't want to mess it up. Maybe that's what I was like for you. I guess you're really gone. And there's no reason to stay here anymore.
Whereas before, the voices in her head drove her insane. Now it's the quiet. Oh, look at that. This is like Marcus looking at Grayson's statue in episode 5 and wondering, would she be proud of me? Does he think he's dead? Yeah, they do. So all three of them disappeared. Oh no. Caitlyn and Savika have a really interesting... They kind of foil each other really interestingly. Oh boy, I don't know.
Like it or not, we're in this mess together. Enforcers raiding our homes, Noxians down our throats, innocents getting carted off to Stillwater.
Singed.
We gotta...
Oh.
You're all under arrest.
Oh my god. We've been getting to know Rictus this season. I don't know, I have bad Oh god.
Drop the blade!
Is this where the monster shows? Oh god.
Time to find out who's the new Pebbleweight.
They got her.
What?
She came to the rally. Topside raided the place. Took everyone.
Shut up.
Oh. It all comes back when faced with that loss.
Chin up, little one. I'll tell you a secret. We won't be staying long.
Oh my god, this presentation. Look at the Vander statue.
Don't suppose you can swim, huh? Lefty. Well,
I'm gonna hate this, aren't I?
I really love them together, I gotta say.
Ha! It's me, your vile villainess, the author of your nightmares, the dread of your...
Well...
Jinx? What's wrong with my pants?
You look like a half-eaten circus tent.
I am Jinx!
Huh, I see. Hey, this guy.
Big mama. How'd you take her in?
I gave her a choice between this and a swim in the harbor.
Jinx playing the caricaturish enforcer. Oh boy. Oh boy. Good God. I gotta say, I think there's something to be said for, you know, Jinx and Savika are serious operators, but they didn't really have to try hard at all to get in. Like, they were unserious the whole time. I think that just further cements what Ambessa was saying. There's incompetency everywhere around her, and she's, like, by a glimpse. Oh, the blue hair!
Here I am, your
There's a bit of blue hair coming out.
hero.
How crazy. Wow. Oh my god, her reaction to that. Dear friend across the river. She's finding something. She's finding her place slowly. The use of the song from episode 1 that she herself sang. So what I'm wondering about this monster of sins is it's not just a monster. There's got to be more to it, some sort of meaning to it. Arcane doesn't have just monsters for the sake of monsters. I really fear for Isha. Oh man. I really hope she ends up being okay. And Singed. Oh, he locks himself. Oh boy.
The hell was that?
Reminds me a little bit of how Decker attacked
Get her out!
You really are a
Big fat hero.
Look at that! my god, have you ever clocked a plot twist just from a music cue? Holy shit. Oh my god. Sorry, I'm just realizing that I said that the scene where Ambessa is sort of using that guinea pig of a person to experiment on some hex tech research drew parallels with something else that I was going to talk about later. I don't actually talk about it in the in the discussion, I just forgot about it. So let me just say here, it reminded me of episode 1 from season 1, where Silco and Singed are experimenting through a glass with Shimmer, causing the death of that cat. I think it's framed kind of similarly. The situation is pretty similar. It has interesting parallels. That's the parallel I noticed there, and I don't talk about it in the discussion, so sorry about that, but that's what I meant. And one more quick detail I wanted to talk about is that, I mentioned this in the reaction, but again, I think it's really sort of clever how Ambessa earlier on in the episode establishes the fact that somewhat, a little bit by coincidence, and fueled by her paranoia, she believes that Black Rose has kidnapped and taken all the competent people around her, or at least the scientists, along with her daughter. So Jace, Heimerdinger, Echo isn't a factor here, but Jace and Heimerdinger are gone. She thinks that Black Rose took them, and she conducts these experiments with Hex Tech. She's trying to progress the technology, and she just met with frustration. And in addition to that, she's souring on Solo. She doesn't really see much use in him anymore. Caitlyn is her, I guess, golden goose, but she's having some difficulties with Caitlyn too, so she's generally frustrated. But my point here is that Ambessa has been talking about how incompetent a lot of the people around her are. Specifically with regards to, I guess, systematic, people in systematic positions. I think she has utmost faith in her right-hand man, Rictus, I think, and maybe her army, maybe her military, but in terms of the people in charge of the science part of things, she's very frustrated, and the people in politics she's frustrated with, and the people in terms of, in positions of power, and specifically in this case, security. And I think that's proven here because Jinx and Savika really just waltz in. It's incredibly unserious. It's very comedy-like. And someone might say that strains believability, that Stillwater should be full of incredibly competent people and great security. But no, Ambessa's really established that Piltover, the rule of Piltover, is stagnant and rotting and decaying and full of incompetence, and that proves it here. And that's shown as she, at a glance, is able to tell that something is off with Jinx and Savika. No context at all. Just sees a bit of blue hair and the vibes are off, and she immediately realizes something's wrong. She's competent and intelligent in that way, but everyone else, they just let them waltz in. Jinx literally proclaims to a guard, "I'm Jinx," and they don't take her seriously. And it's funny, it's good for Savika and Jinx's dynamic and the, I guess, the flow of the episode, but also it's subtly intelligent that they get that across through the subtext here. That's an incredible episode. Oh my, there is so much in there. It hits on so many notes. It does so many things well. It plants great foundations and great hooks going forward. It's some great payoff, great character development. Dynamics spring up in ways that you haven't thought of before. It looks beautiful, sounds beautiful, amazing use of music, and very focused, They have this great hook for multiple mysteries, and the mysteries being, Black Rose? Where's Mel and Alora? Where's Jace and Echo and Heimerdinger? Who Ambessa is using her limited knowledge. You understand why she thinks it's probably Black Rose, but it isn't. Black Rose has stolen Mel. Anyways, I'm rambling. We have the mysteries, at least 3 hooks, at least 3. Jace, Echo, and Heimerdinger. What's going on with them and the Wilds rune? Mel and Alora, who've been taken by Black Rose. And Victor. What's going on with Victor in his messianic state, in his savior-like role? It's been 2 episodes since we've seen him. So, I gotta say, something I really respect is the restraint to not... I guess semi-criticized Act 1, or Act 4 rather, for being a lot, pretty frenetic and giving us lots of stuff happening pretty rapidly, lots of information. It was a little bit overwhelming, but this episode is very focused specifically on the characters that it prioritizes. Actually, there's another hook. We didn't see Vi at all. That's 4 big plot threads and character threads that we have nothing for. It's not that they aren't addressed in one way or another, because they are. Mel is talked about, same with Jace, Heimerdinger, and Echo, and Vi, there's a lot of stuff going on in between the gaps through Vi's absence. And, the Victor thing is just simmering along in a very underlying sort of way. But they chose to focus on a very specific set of stuff this episode. And my god, was it done amazingly well. Specifically focused on Caitlyn, Ambessa, Jinx, and everything going on with her, Savika, I guess Singed to an extent, and Warwick? What used to be Vander. All that, and how they've expanded upon what is going on in the socio-political realm, how society is fracturing, how those, in Zaun have responded to Jinx's symbol, how Jinx feels about being this symbol, how those in Piltover are acting and reacting to Ambessa's dictatorial rule, and how Caitlyn feels about what's going on despite her taking up this role, and all the nuances behind that. So this episode was fantastic with what it chose to prioritize. That focus and that restraint, I can't help but respect it, because yeah, I miss Jace, I miss Victor, I miss Vi, I want to know what's going on with them. But we can give it an episode, and to do that, to properly focus on these things, build upon the world, it's essential. Yeah, this episode had everything. It had everything. Let's start with talking about the societal stuff, the thematic stuff that's going on. So let's talk first about this societal stuff, the way that the setting has shifted around the actions of these characters. Yeah, we had that introductory music video movie thing to sort of show the state of the world. There's been a tiny bit of a time skip so that things have been able to settle. Not much, but enough so that Caitlyn has gotten a partner, for instance, and things are sort of, the players in their respective positions have sort of settled a little bit. And what we learn from this song, and the title of the episode, and the sort of montage, paint the town blue. There's a duality to that. Firstly, what I talked about during the reaction, which is that those under this horrible rule, those who, any who are seen to sympathize with Jinx, anyone who steps a toe out of line of the correct ideology, by perception of the council and by perception of Ambessa, they're arrested, they're thrown in Stillwater, they're killed, some of them. And so all these sympathizers are blue. So I think the idea here is the classic sort of offshoot of fascist ideology, which is to anyone who doesn't 100% believe in your ideology, anyone who seems like they might, just a hint of what they might be doing is sympathizing with the enemy. They're an individual to be eliminated. And so anyone in Piltover or anywhere who doesn't 100% align with the ideologies that are correct are painted as blue. And they are taken to Stillwater. They're shoved away. They're hidden away from the world where their contrasting ideals and thoughts and philosophies and ambitions cannot be seen because they're an inconvenience. But also from the Zaun side of things, Jinx has become this symbol to rally around, this symbol of revolution and uprising, and from the Zaun perspective, they want to paint everything blue because blue is the color that represents Jinx, and Jinx is their savior, their hero, their symbol. In a lot of ways, carrying forward the torch that Silco kind of showed to everyone. Now, everyone has their own thoughts on these things, but I just love the way it's presented through dialogue, subtext through dialogue, and all the characters and their attitudes and behaviors and how it shows how they feel about all these situations. It's done really well, it's done really efficiently, and yeah, awesome stuff. Now, of course, a sort of dangling thing is, I am just thinking, where are Mel and Allura? They're talked about in the episode, but we don't see anything with them. They don't have any screen time. Where are Jace, Heimerdinger, and Echo? Where has this wild rune taken them? I don't know, but I'm really, really curious about it. But not much to say about it that's different from episode 3. Just figured I'd bring it up. But yeah, we see throughout the episode, Echo's right-hand man. We see him being rounded up. We see him in Stillwater. We see that Echo is thought of as dead. He's put on that mural along with Vander and everyone else. And like I said, Ambessa assumes that Heimerdinger and Jace were taken by Black Rose along with Mel and Allura because they're competent, and they want to strip her of any competent people that she has around her to weaken her. Any scientists, specifically, which she needs to further develop her cause. But yeah, I imagine in the next episode we'll get at least something to do with that, but I'm totally fine with them leaving it out here. And the mystery grows, so hell yeah, I'm down for that. I think the first character I really want to talk about at length is Ambessa, one of the stars of this season, who continues to go from strength to strength, and this is some of the most fascinating things we learn about her in this episode. And there is so much nuance here. I said in episode 3 that she is a villain, and I agree. I haven't changed my mind on that, but there is some nuance and some layers and some even a bit of sympathy to me. If you look deeper into her thoughts and actions and why she does the things she does, nothing about anything here is said in forgiveness of her. I don't endorse anything she's doing. I know this is a stupid thing, I shouldn't have to say this, but it's YouTube. I need to say it anyway, just to be clear. I'm not saying that what Ambessa is doing is right. I don't agree with her. Hopefully my reaction to what she's been doing this whole reaction series has been clear with regards to that. However, I still find certain aspects of her character to be very intriguing, very compelling, and illuminating and sympathetic. Along with her intelligence, her strength and power, her influence and her tactical nous, her strategy, and her just insane ability to weave through politics and use people to her whims. Along with all that, she shows an incredible amount of self-awareness and wisdom in her conversation with Mel, which is one of my favorite scenes in the whole season so far. When Caitlyn says, when they're talking about their plans going forward and going after Jinx and everything, Caitlyn asks why peace is always the justification for violence. And Ambessa replies, I know it's tiring, it's exhausting. This fighting, this loss in general is exhausting. It's painful. But more powerful than the exhaustion of that loss is the fact, the monster inside of you that knows that as long as your enemy who will take those you care about from you are out there, you will not be able to rest. For Caitlyn, she's speaking of Jinx for having killed her mother. But she's clearly, you can tell with the voice acting, the expressions, she's clearly speaking from experience. I believe she's thinking of Black Rose and her son, but I think she's also talking about other losses she's had in the past, because I think what she exhibits through her characterization since her introduction, but especially in this episode, is that she has experienced so much loss. She has experienced so much loss. She's, through her upbringing, through her childhood, maybe into her adulthood, she's learned nothing but tragedy, and she's learned that to counteract that tragedy, to counteract the weakness of enemies taking that which you care about, the people you care about, you need to be strong and you need to be cruel. You need to defend that which you care about. And Ambessa cares about her family, which I imagine just comes from loving them, but also through realizing, through loss, through struggle, that they are the most important thing in her life, and she will do whatever she can to protect them. It almost reminds me of Silco's baptism and rebirth after Vander betrayed him. Vander betraying him made him realize that for him to grasp the power he wants, he has to do whatever he needs to at any cost to get it. You don't have to be strong necessarily, you don't have to be fast or smarter, you have to have that conviction. And Ambessa is defined by this conviction to protect that which she cares about, to protect her family, which I imagine she learned through loss, just like Silco learned through betrayal. So I think there's an interesting parallel there. But this also brings about to me, how exhausted must Ambessa be? Her life is constantly searching out enemies and stamping out enemies that she has to stamp out to protect her family. If she knows that anyone is out there, she has to stamp them out. She has to use whatever she has at her disposal to overpower them and defeat them and crush them. But in a position where she's in, with political enemies everywhere, ruling by oppression, dictatorship, and violence, she will never stop amassing enemies. She will never stop creating those which she fears, the enemies that she does this in the first place for. So it's a vicious cycle, and she is essentially doomed because of her weakness. I'll get to that in a second, but because Ambessa rules by power, rules by fear, in order to protect her family, she is just causing more and more enemies that will make her family in more and more danger, and it just keeps ramping up. It's a vicious cycle, and it'll never end. And you can just sense that exhaustion in her. She keeps fighting, but her fight is endless, and she shows a great self-awareness here, and I wonder if she realizes that it's futile, it'll never stop, and she's actually dooming those she cares about through being attached to her family with her rule. But maybe it's a sense of, I've come too far. There's an element of that with Caitlyn, who hesitates about what she's doing, but feels that no, she can't really take any half measures, and she has to get something definable in her conquest. Jinx. She has to get Jinx to make all of her actions worth it. If I can go on a tangent here, just because this thought sprang into my mind, that's a great element of Caitlyn's character that's shown here. She needs to justify her actions with results. Who else is like that? Jace in Season 1. He does a lot of things that sort of betray the person he is at heart, and needs to feel definable, concrete, tangible results. And when he doesn't find that, he feels so uncomfortable because he doesn't have anything in his hands that tell him that acting in this way was worth it, and that causes great uncomfortability. Likewise, Mel told Jace, all the way back when, to have confidence in himself, to have conviction, and make choices, instead of floundering around. Maddie kind of acts that way to Caitlyn, telling her to have confidence in herself here as well. So just some interesting parallels between Caitlyn, who derided Jace, deeply criticized him for becoming something, to her eyes, unrecognizable. Even though I think with the gradual evolution he went through, he was very recognizable. It was just tragic to see him doing some of these things. Caitlyn derided him for that, and she's going through the very things that he's going through. Anyways, back to Ambessa. It's a vicious cycle for which she is the progenitor, and she is tormented. She is her worst enemy here. She is tormented by constantly, exhaustingly having to face these enemies to stamp out any threats to that which she loves, but she causes those enemies. Now, it's sad because she had to do something in the first place. In a way, you can understand why she thought she really had no choice to become this. But nonetheless, she is her own worst enemy in that way. And that self-awareness continues, as she basically calls herself, in some way, weak. Because she tells Caitlyn that she'll never be able to rest as long as she knows that those enemies are out there. Unless she underestimated Caitlyn, and Caitlyn is stronger than she is due to having the capacity to forgive and trust and have hope. I mean, 1 + 1 = 2. Ambessa is essentially saying the ability to hope and forgive is a strength that she does not have. She realizes and is self-aware of the fact that if she were able to forgive and let bygones be bygones and let go of this fear and this vengeful cycle, she would be stronger for it and maybe happier for it, and maybe her family would be benefited. But she can't bring herself to do this. She gives in to rage, she gives in to fear, and that is her weakness. You know what I think of most when I think of that? Mel. Mel is someone who in Season 1 and in this season as well has shown this ability to hope, to look at war as not the first response, but a last resort. I think Mel is representative of the strength that Ambessa does not have. I think Caitlyn is as well, because it's no coincidence that she's saying this to Caitlyn, and Caitlyn has been someone who I think is very capable of that throughout the series. I don't think Caitlyn is past the point of no return at all. She's down a very dark path, but her reflections have shown that I think she can turn back. She can't take back some of the things she's done, but she can make strides to not lose herself completely. That's what I think. But back to the topic, Mel is someone who I think has that strength as well. And I think that's part of why she weakened Ambessa. Not only because Ambessa would look in her eyes and be ashamed of the morality of the things she did to protect her family because she felt like Mel was judging her, but maybe she sensed inside Mel that unbelievable strength of forgiveness and hope and trust. And Ambessa, along with this, has multiple weaknesses. In addition to that, Mel is her weakness. Her family is her weakness and her strength, because it causes such vulnerability with her. But specifically Mel. She fears for Mel, and she knows that Black Rose is smart, and because they're smart, because they know her, seems like, they took her Achilles heel. They've got her by getting Mel. Maybe a part of her feels inferior to Mel, as well as feeling judged by her. I don't know, it's these layers of complexity for Ambessa are so good. Incredible stuff. And one last thought about this is maybe she laments not being trusted by Caitlyn despite being used by her. She seems to not be happy about that. So I think that's a very valid interpretation, and maybe she's looking for something to replace Mel through missing her, but is not really finding it in Caitlyn for so many reasons. Now, obviously, Ambessa's an awful person, but her layers of humanity and sympathy and the theories it spawns about her upbringing and the depth and richness and complexity, it's fantastic stuff. She is a fantastic character. Now we go from Ambessa to Caitlyn, who we get a pretty good glimpse of in this episode to see where she stands on what she's been doing. And she's hesitant. She, like I kind of alluded to already, she is going down this road and she feeds into it and she's being exploited, but she buys into it completely through her need for vengeance and retribution. And the symbol of that, the symbol that is a symbol for many things, is Jinx. Jinx represents her getting what she needs. If she gets Jinx, all of this will be worth it, even the things that she probably has keeping her up at night, that she's done. Because she has self-awareness too. She knows, I think deep down, not even deep down, I think she knows that what she's doing is wrong and goes against the person she is. And there's a scene where she looks up at the statue of her mother, kind of in a way similar to how Marcus looked up to the statue of Grayson in episode 5 of season 1, and just kind of went, "You were my role model, you were a good woman." Now, I'm not saying that Cassandra Kierman was necessarily a good woman in the same way that Grayson was, but I think there's a similarity here in looking up at this role model and wondering if they'd be disappointed. Because that's what Marcus felt in episode 5, that's what Caitlyn must feel now. Wondering what her mom might think if she saw her doing these things in her name. Because Cassandra definitely had some unlikable traits, was definitely nasty in some ways, privileged, bought into the societal hierarchies and the systems in place that caused oppression, was complicit, absolutely. But I don't know that Caitlyn thinks that she would have been proud of her for doing this. And so Caitlyn needs results, just like Jace, like I mentioned before. And I really like Maddie's role here. She struck up a romantic relationship, a sexual relationship with Maddie, who is completely just ended up serving a role of trusting in her no matter what. If she continues doing what she's doing, I think she'll go with her. If she changes her mind, I think she'll go with her. And what she more or less says to her is, have confidence in yourself, trust yourself. But Caitlyn at this moment has trouble doing that. So she questions Ambessa, she has hesitancies and she has trepidation, and she questions her. And she's very smart, she's not fearful in doing so. But she's still going along this path, at least for now, so we'll see how things go after this. Does she change something? I don't know. I think ultimately she's not going to pass a point of no return. I think she's going to try to go back. But will it be too late? I don't know. We'll see. One more thing about this is I think it's very clear that she is also, in between her words, through her expressions, thinking of Vi. While she's talking to Maddie, I think she's thinking of Vi. When she's talking to Ambessa, I think she's thinking of Vi. and how Vi would look at her, along with Cassandra, with Vi being suspiciously absent for this, just like Victor, and Jace and Mel and Echo and Heimerdinger. A common theme of this season is all of these characters knowing what they want generally, knowing what they want out of the world, but on the path to doing it, losing themselves, being adrift in one way or another, but whether it be due to grief or whatever, just being lost within themselves. Caitlyn, absolutely. Jace is, for sure. Savika, I think. Jinx. These characters are lost within themselves. They may be trying to do good, they may be just trying to find a reason to live, but they're in their doldrums, internal doldrums, and they don't know what to do with themselves. Now I want to turn to Savika a little bit. I don't have a ton to say about her, but I just generally love the role she's had in this. She is, again, a very great support character. I mentioned her having some parallels with Caitlyn, and I still think that, but the parallels I feel are sort of ones that I can't really define. I don't really know how to put it into words, so I'll just leave that for now. But anyways, Savika is this great support character, this great mediator. She has awesome interactions with Jinx. I love that they're growing warmer and warmer with one another, and that they're kind of filling this hole in one another's lives. But also the darker layers of grief of her character. She lashes out at Jinx because she says, "Why aren't you doing what Silco would have wanted you to do? This is how you repay his memory," without thinking of the fact that what Silco wants isn't for Jinx to be him. It's for Jinx to be happy, to be herself. And I think she knows that she can be the ultimate support, the right-hand woman. But she is not built to be the spearhead, to be the leader. She is not built to be a symbol. Silco was, Vander was, Jinx was, but I think she realizes that that is not her place, and so she needs others to take up the call. Before getting to, I guess, the last major character to talk about, or the second last rather, I just want to quickly touch on, his name is escaping me, but we've been getting more for Ambessa's right-hand man in this, and he is a terrifying character. And also Isha, to lead into the Jinx talk, incredibly sweet, an incredibly heartbreaking character, and I really hope nothing happens to her. If Jinx is to go off the deep end, to completely just go off, and if this hero thing is short-lived, I think it would result in the loss of a character like Isha. So I hope she stays okay. She's great, and her replicating Jinx and embodying and emulating Jinx, her hero, is just beautiful. However, to get to Jinx proper, my god, what a fantastic Jinx episode. Absolutely stunning. And here we have another character who's finding herself, who has lost herself, but through this episode, I think, is finding herself. First, we have the beautiful parallel as we see her getting closer and closer with Isha, which in and of itself is, they're not being subtle with this. It's clear that Isha is, from the start, was built up to be a character that could save Jinx's life. But we have her struggles with identity, with, is Silco's dream my dream? What am I doing with that? Who am I? Who do I want to be? Am I Jinx? Am I Powder? She talks to Isha about her past life as Powder. The voices don't bother her anymore. But tragically, in her scene talking with the chair, with Silco, it is maddeningly silent. There is nothing there, and it torments her. I'll say what I said before. Silco would not want Jinx to try to become him, to try to become something she's not. He would just want her to be happy, to be herself, because she is perfect as she is. Not a doubt in my mind. But it's so hard for Jinx to find a path forward when she's suffering from, for the second time in her life, such a big hole in her life. She lost Vi, and she immediately found Silco. She loses Silco, and there was nothing there to latch onto. Now she's gradually getting it through Isha and Savika. Specifically Isha, and that's beautiful, but in this moment it's so sad to see her so adrift. But back to the scene with Isha. It's beautiful to me because it just really shows what I was talking about last episode, which is that Powder has not died. Powder is a part of Jinx. And what's more indicative of that than the fact that Jinx is using the game that Vi talked about that they'd play as kids. where they'd make up these monsters and then just sort of power scale these monsters. Oh, I've got a giant crab. Oh, I've got a giant crab with spikes. Oh, I've got a man-eating crab with spikes that shoots poison out of its claws, that sort of thing. I don't think it's a coincidence that really parallels these mini fights that she has with these little insect things fighting one another, that she's doing with her now kind of foster sister, Isha. It very much reflects what Powder and Vi did as kids, and maybe Jinx is able to identify in some ways with Vi, with wanting to protect someone weaker and smaller than her, and caring for her. And simultaneously, maybe she's found a reason to live. And here's the thing with Jinx. From when she was young as Powder until this point, the one thing that she's always valued is connection. She's always valued connection. Connecting with others, and because she's been so deprived of it in so many ways and rejected and faced such loss, she's had unhealthy dependencies on that connection, specifically with Vi. But she has always valued connections with other people, and so this relationship with Isha is so unbelievably beautiful to me, because it helps her to sort of, in some way, put together the pieces of herself that had long since been forgotten. She is stimulated to talk about Powder because Isha, through her interactions with her, through being the Vi to her Powder, reminds her of that. Maybe this will allow her to empathize more with Vi. I don't know, but more to the point, she realizes that she was Powder. She realizes that she is Jinx. She kind of grapples a little bit with what parts are her, what are the genuine her, and I think what she concludes at this moment is she starts putting them together. She starts realizing that she is both. She's kind of reminded of who she used to be and sort of coalesces that with who she is. The symbol she represents to these people, Jinx and Powder. When the trauma comes back, the trauma of loss, the voices come back when she hears that Isha has been taken, she decides to take up the call. She decides, symbolically, she is rescuing something that represents Powder. She is using her Jinx identity to rescue this little sister now, but also something that reminds her of herself when she was younger. It's not, this isn't unintentional, this is deliberate, that she is reclaiming and rescuing, bringing into herself something so reminiscent of Powder. It's a display of self-acceptance. And then with the reveal of Warwick Vander, I mean, he sees Powder in her. Powder's never been gone. She's become Jinx, but she's never lost Powder. It's all been part of the same person. And so Vander recognizing her as Powder, her becoming, her reclaiming this Powder part of herself right at this moment, it just makes sense, doesn't it? It all lines up. Now, one of the most shocking scenes, or striking scenes in this episode, was when she freed everyone. She said she's Jinx. She really casually says it to the Enforcer, jokes around about it. I'm the big hero. It's me. That's the one you're looking for. And it doesn't mean something for her, really. She's here to take back this person that she's grown to care for. And this is a nice byproduct of it, but she doesn't really have much meaning in what that represents, in that symbol. Until the moment where she's touched by that woman and everyone else. In that touch, that very human touch, she realizes what she does this for. She realizes she has this surge of emotion as she's appreciated for being someone who protects the downtrodden, someone who cares for others, someone who is a hero. And I think she values what being a hero means because it means forming these genuine bonds with others, being appreciated, being embraced. She's never felt that sort of widespread warmth before. And it completely takes her aback. She feels so emotional at it. And in feeling that, I think she realizes that her place is to protect those that she cares about. Just like Vi, just like Ambessa, just like Caitlyn, just like Silco and Vander. Like, that's a common theme. And what I love is that Jinx failed. It's a harsh thing to say, but she failed in episode 3 in trying to rescue Vi and Milo and Clagger and Vander. Here, she's able to do it. She does rescue the person she tries to rescue and breaks everyone out of there. And she finds that Vander is in some way alive. Now, I'm not trying to say that this is, in and of itself, a silver lining that Vander is alive and that all's forgiven. No. But it's very symbolic that Vander meets her when she is able to put right the trauma of her past by properly saving these people. This episode is a big step towards self-understanding, self-compassion, self-acceptance for Jinx. And it's beautiful, and it makes me wonder about how other characters will view her after this. If she really takes on this mantle of being this hero because she realizes that it brings about the end product that she desires. It brings about these relationships, it protects these people she cares about, and it is what she wants to be. How will other people react to this? How will Caitlyn, who is now hunting after her, react to this? Vi, Ambessa, Savika and Isha, Echo, Jace, it's... God, it's just brilliant stuff. Then we have some stuff about Singed, before talking about Warwick. It's really interesting. I don't really know what to make of Singed and his goals, but what's clear is that he has essentially programmed a monster that will defend him, the Undercity, maybe as a byproduct, but specifically him. He is someone that seems to, in his past he worked with Heimerdinger, in his past he worked with Silco. He had a tragedy to do with his daughter. Ultimately, I think what he's learned is something similar to the Undercity mentality, which is to look after those who are not in power, those who are oppressed maybe, and also to look after himself. Those are the two things I grasp from this, but it's hard to tell because we haven't had much internalization. We can only sort of guess given the hints so far. So I'm really actively anticipating seeing what Singed has to say down the line, why he created this monster outside of the obvious. But also, I wonder if he did lose a daughter, right? So I wonder if in interacting with Isha, he saw a bit of her in Isha. And that's why he was kind of kindly to her. Don't worry, he'll only be there for a short time. But, even still, what's interesting to me is there seems to be a bit of a paradox here, or a contradiction. Because when Warwick, the creature, storms Stillwater, he locks himself in the prison, maybe for his own protection? I'm not sure. That's what I guessed at first. And he knows it's very dangerous, he knows better than anyone. But he doesn't tell Jinx, Savika, or Isha to watch out. After his interaction with Isha and the stuff with his daughter and the soft spot he might have had for her, I would have expected that, but he doesn't say that. So it's really interesting. I'm not saying that's a contradiction of his character, I just think that there's a lot of complexity and nuance to his character that we don't know about, so I'm really interested to learn more about him. Also, he was at the rally that Savika brought about. So that shows at least some support for the Undercity, which you would expect. So yeah, really interesting character, Singed. But the last thing, Warwick. Vander is back. How much of him is back? I don't know. How much of him is in there? I don't know. But man, that reveal totally floored me. And, I didn't have any theories about what this monster was, but during the episode you heard me say, there's more to this. There's no way that Arcane, this series that has so much symbolism everywhere, so much richness everywhere, so much depth and detail, attention to detail, there's no way that Singed just brings about this random monster to be his pet, and this monster has no significance. No chance. That's what I alluded to during the reaction. And, throughout it, I was kind of thinking some things, like, subconsciously, I think I realized that Warwick kind of looks like Vander, especially in the Shimmer form. Then there was also the music cue. We heard, when Jinx had this beautiful scene of her liberating all the people in the jail, we heard a Dear Friend Across the River, that leitmotif from episode 1 that represents Vi, Powder, and Vander. That was a bit of a hint to this, and once again, the moment we see Warwick hesitating, I don't know whether to call him Warwick or Vander, but we saw the subtitle said Warwick. I'll say Warwick, hesitating when fighting Jinx, who beautifully gave her life up, was resigned to die, but this time the complexion of this was not, I'm gonna die because my life is meaningless, but I will die to protect those I care about. Beautiful. Sorry, the Jinx gush, I can't help myself. But the moment he hesitated, and the moment we hear that leitmotif, I knew it. Like, it's so beautiful the way it all clicks together. Maybe I was slow, but man, I wouldn't have changed that for the world because of just the oh man, the emotions that pour through me. It's so sad because I wonder if Vander's tormented, but there's also, in spite of it all, there's something heartwarming about him seeing powder, of him seeing powder in Jinx, and them being reunited. His relationship was primarily with Vi in season 1. Him and Powder have about one scene, which is at the end of episode 2. They don't really have much together, so it's beautiful to see that connection there. And maybe there'll be more of it down the line. I don't know. Is this just momentary? How buried deep inside is he in this beast? Will they be able to talk at all? I really don't know. So I guess Singed scrounged up his corpse after the disaster at the end of episode 3. He took his body and fused it with Shimmer, these wolf organs and biology, to make this monster that would be able to be unleashed on oppressors and to defend himself. Either way, in one form or another, it's great to have Vander back. I do love Vander, and there's so much potential here. What if he's able to see what's become of the Undercity and blame himself to an extent for what's become of it? What advice would he be able to give Jinx, who is in some ways taking a role kind of reminiscent of what he took? In some ways, there are lots of differences. What will he think of what's going on with Echo and Vi? Like, I don't know if he's even going to be able to do that, but the potential's there. And I'm just realizing now, when we saw from his point of view as he's rushing to Stillwater, he takes a second to look at the Vander statue. So good. What I really like about Warwick is, for me, the big criticisms that I think characters had towards Vander, Savika particularly, and Silco, is that he was a man of inaction. He held this status quo that ensured the survival of his people, but he never broke that status quo. He was scared to do it for fear of loss, and because he knows what can happen when peace is disrupted, but he never really took into account the needs of his people to want to do more. Of Vi, of Savika, of Silco. So Vander to me was a man classified by kindness, but also inaction, whereas he has now been turned into something diametrically opposite. Warwick is this creature that literally is programmed to act, to defend, to enact violence. Vander used to be a man of action, gave that up, and then became a man of inaction. Now he is this creature that can do nothing but act. Or is he? I guess we'll see. Man, I need to watch the next episode. I don't think I have time today to do it. Maybe I can make it. I don't know. We'll see. But that's all I got for today. My throat is sore. Fantastic episode. My God, that was good. I need the next episode like I need air to breathe. If you enjoyed my reaction, the discussion, please feel free to share your thoughts, share what you think. If you want early access to the next episode, which I hope is going to be even better than this one, you can do so on Patreon for early access, under the $5 or $10 tier, I don't know which, you can check. And there's full-length reviews as well. Full-length with a timer, if you want to watch the whole episode. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for being here, for listening to me ramble, and for engaging in this awesome, awesome show with me. Thank you for being a part of the journey. We'll see you in the next one.